Oh God, I love this car so much. This is, literally the perfect sports car. And this thing with 300 horsepower is the one. A few days ago, I drove the Alpine A110. It was a sports car that I said was perfect. I absolutely love it. But at the back of my mind, I wondered what the car would be like with a little bit more power. Then I remembered that the company RaceChip has got a development car. But the last time we did a video with RaceChip, you guys weren't so flattering in the comments. So to tackle these comments head on, RaceChip invited me to their HQ in Stuttgart. So let's go do it. Right, so before we have a look at those comments that you guys left, I want to introduce you to a couple of guys. Fabian.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And Daniel as well. These guys obviously work for RaceChip. Now, Fabian, for those people who don't know about RaceChip, quickly tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, so basically RaceChip's a tuning company. We've been around for a little more than 10 years now. And what we do is making all cars we can think about from a lot of different brands and a lot of different models, making them faster. We do this not by editing the actual ECU of the car itself, but by plugging in an additional ECU, so we can read the sensors of the car and modify the values to increase performance.
And the hairstyle, is that also a RaceChip company policy?
It's mandatory. If you don't have hair like this, you can't get a job at RaceChip.
I clearly didn't get the memo about the hair. So when we did our RaceChip's video a while ago with a 330D, we had a ton of comments underneath that video, and the first one that I want to draw your attention to is from Nate. Get the car tuned on a dyno, not a silly chip. So obviously my question is, do you guys even use a dyno?
You know what? I can show you our dyno right now. As you can see, we have our own dyno. Actually, it's one of the best dynos you can get. It's a Maha MSR 500 and special edition, which is the first delivery worldwide. We have a special cooling system. Everything is custom made for us. The cooling system can produce 140 km/h wind speed. We have extra coolers for the turbochargers, which is really cool and necessary to get proper results. We're doing, I would say, average around 25 to 30 dyno runs for each engine until everything is set up and the product is developed. But of course, it depends on the engine, how much runs and how much time you need actually. On some cars, we need 25, 30 runs. On other cars, like the 1.5 TFSI, it took 1 year to develop it, and we actually bought a car for it just to develop the product.
So there you go, Nate. I hope that that answers your comment. Yes, the guys at RaceChip do use a dyno. Right, one of the most upvoted comments was a ECU Flash is better than a Piggyback. I would never put one in my car. So Fabian, tell me the differences between a Flash and a Piggyback and the pros and cons of both.
Yeah, basically this is like one of the hottest discussions in the internet in terms of cars. The difference, to put it easy, is if you have an ECU tune, you override the stock ECU of the car. So you tell the ECU of the car do things differently than before and hence get more power. If you have an external ECU like ours, you take the sensor values, you modify them, you send them to the stock ECU, and you basically do the same thing but without interfering with the stock ECU. You can get great results with external ECUs or with ECU Flash. It doesn't really matter. If you just want an easy and good performance increasement, an external ECU like the RaceChip might be the perfect thing for you. If you have your tuned GTR with 1200 horsepower and modifications over modifications, you're not going to build an external ECU in it, and that's fine for us. We just want to make stock cars more fun to drive, and that's what we're specialized in.
And something like a RaceChip is easy, quick to install, and the thing that you guys like to say is that it's reversible as well.
Yeah, easy. I mean, it's for most cars you can install it in 50 minutes, and it's the same amount of time to deinstall it, and that's it. You have a stock car again.
Right, so Daniel, the next comment that we're going to discuss is from a chap called Butz. This isn't a real chip tuning. The only thing the box does is manipulate the rail pressure sensor. So how do you address claims like that? And talk to me about the parameters that you guys go into when making a tune.
I think you have to separate it into active changes, and we call it passive changes. Like, we are changing actively the signals which are going into the ECU, and which signals, it depends on the car. What kind of signals? It can be basically everything from analog to frequency, sense signals, PWM signals, boost pressure, intake pressure, airflow, fuel pressure, whatever we need to get the cars to make more power. And then you have the passive changes, which are basically coming from the ECU. So we are changing active signals and the ECU is adapting based on the new values it's getting. So let's say we are changing the boost pressure. The ECU will automatically adapt the ignition timing. So we have to be sure that everything still is in a safe area. So we are logging all different values during the development process, ignition timing, lambda value, exhaust gas temperatures, and everything what is important for the engine. So that's why we basically need, I would say, an average around 1.5 to 2 weeks for the development for each engine. And as I mentioned earlier, for some cars which are using new signals like the 1.5 TSI, that was really a tricky one. So that took a year to correct the signals.
Right, so Fabian, a bloke called Michael Williams says, would like to see MPG differences in all modes. So can you tell me, how does a race chip affect the efficiency of a car?
Yeah, so actually a lot of people are surprised that with more performance you can also save fuel, but it's quite logical if you just think about torque, because our modules greatly increase the torque of an engine, and if an engine has more torque you can use a higher gear to drive the same speed that before you, for example, had to drive in third gear. And this actually saves fuel. If your main interest is to save fuel, you could select one of our ecological fuel saving settings in our app, for example. But basically, depending on your driving behavior, you should be able to save fuel in all of our settings. Of course, if you build in our race chip and you floor your car like crazy every day, don't expect to save fuel. But if you match the driving behavior which you had in stock, for most of the cars you can save a significant amount of fuel. A 530D 3-liter diesel from BMW, it's easily possible to save up to 1 liter per 100 kilometers, which is quite a lot.
Anyway, what do you say we turn this up a couple of notches and find out what difference a race chip makes on the open road? Right, so ladies and gents, we are in the Renault Alpine A110 and it's got to be my favourite sports car at the moment. It's bloody amazing, it's quick, it's light, it's agile, it sounds awesome. Listen to this. Yes! It's a wicked, wicked bit of kit. We're not even in sport mode at the moment. Now, technical highlights, and you'll probably help me out with this. We've got the 1.8 litre turbocharged motor from the Renault Megane RS, which means 265 horsepower out of the box.
In stock it's 250.
250?
It's a little detuned compared to the Megane RS.
Ah, okay. And in something this light, I think it weighs around 1,100 kilograms, so super light. I love the way it handles. I love the way it makes me feel because the noise is great. You guys have done a little bit of work on this. We've got the 3-piece split BBS motorsport wheels that you guys had specially made and they look immense. We also have some Eibach coilovers.
Exactly. The Alpine is a great car even in stock, but it tends to be a little bit wobbly in turns. With a different suspension setup, this just gets more sporty and helps the car out.
We've had this car in normal mode and as you can tell, it's an absolute riot. It makes me feel awesome.
I can use the app on my phone to put the RaceChip in sport, because right now it's turned off completely, so you're driving with stock power and then you're good to go.
Awesome.
I just turned on the GTS Black, so now we're on sport mode.
Yeah.
Which should give you around maybe 290 horsepower.
Yeah, yeah, it does feel a lot more lively. This is what this car needed, just a little bit more power. Are you a nervous passenger?
No, absolutely not. Excellent. As long as I'm confident in the driver skills of the driver, I'm fine.
Well, I'm pretty much a racing driver, I don't know if you know.
Yeah, everyone knows. All right, and if you want, I can set it to race now, so you could get the full power of around 300 horsepower.
Yeah, you notice. You definitely notice. Oh God, I love this car so much. And with a race chip, it's just so awesome. The chassis can definitely take it. Yes!
You're welcome.
Shake my hand, that's so cool. This is, yeah, literally the perfect sports car.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about all the time. People are complaining only 300 horsepower. But actually, if the car is light enough and if the chassis is set up in a nice way, it's still really, really fast. I mean, this is like way faster than a Golf R.
Oh, I like it so much, Fabian. Oh, so good. Shit, really boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I puked.
Oh man, this thing with 300 horsepower is the one. I hope you enjoyed the video. These guys did a stellar job answering all of your questions, so hopefully that's put some of your fears to bed. All that's left to say now is subscribe to Car Throttle on this link, and if you want to check out some RaceChip videos, which I'm sure you do, the link's over there. Right, which car are you going to take home? Because I'm taking that, you can take the G, and you can go in the Beast.
All right.
See you guys. Oh, wrong side.